The views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views of ECTV News, the City of East Chicago, nor this broadcast station or website. ECTV airs public meetings as a service to the community it serves. Speakers at public meetings, broadcast, or posted by ECTV News are solely responsible for their comments. ECTV News reserves the right to edit or remove any profanity or abusive language or behavior deemed inappropriate for our viewing audience. If you have any comments or suggestions about this program, contact ECTV News at 219-391-8206.
I call to order the regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, June 12, 2017. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm getting to that. Will we please have a moment of silence for our colleague, Councilman Ronald London, who passed away today.
Rich. Brenda. We're just going to stand for a moment of silence.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can we have roll call, please?
Maldonado. Walker.
Present.
Vasquez.
Present.
Garcia.
Present.
Orange.
Present.
Medina.
Present.
Monroe. Franziski.
Present. First thing on the agenda is the public hearing, Ordinance 17-0009. We have someone to speak on it? I now open up the podium to see who is for or against Ordinance 17-0009. I'm closing the public hearing portion of the meeting. We are now going to start the regular scheduled meeting. I have a motion to accept the minutes for regular scheduled meeting on May 22nd, 2017.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Garcia.
Abstain.
Orange.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes. Do we have any communications from the mayor?
No.
Any communications from department heads?
Yes. Accounts payable warrant 061217LA.
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Vasquez, seconded by Councilwoman Walker, to accept accounts payable warrant 061217LA. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange.
Yes.
Medina.
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 061217CC.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Walker, to accept accounts payable warrant 1217CC. Have any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange.
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 060717CC.
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Walker, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez, to accept accounts payable warrant 060717CC. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange.
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 051517CC.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Walker, to accept accounts payable warrant 051517CC. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 052417CC.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez, to accept accounts payable warrant 052417CC. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 061917CC.
So moved. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Walker, to accept accounts payable warrant 061917CC. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange.
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes.
Accounts payable warrant 063017BD.
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Walker, seconded by Councilwoman Orange, to accept accounts payable warrant 063017BD. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes. Madam Clerk, for the record, you state that Councilman Monroe is here.
Payroll warrant biweekly 051917.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez, to accept payroll warrant biweekly 051917. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franziski.
Yes.
Payroll warrant monthly 060117.
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Medina, to accept payroll warrant monthly 17. Have any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes.
Payroll warrant biweekly 060217.
So moved, Mr. President. Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Medina, to accept payroll warrant biweekly 060217. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Do we have any committee reports? Councilwoman Orange?
I don't have a report. I'll be asking Steve Dalton to contact the mayor's office and also Mr. Bennett and find out when we're starting our hearings for our budget.
Moving on to board reports. Do we have any board reports? Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances on first reading?
Yes. Ordinance 170009, sponsor Mayor Anthony Copeland, additional appropriation ordinance.
Mr. President.
Councilman Garcia?
That's the next one.
So moved to take this off the agenda until we get representation here to explain this ordinance.
Second. Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Medina. Do we have somebody here to speak on it? Can you approach the podium, please?
Public hearing.
What's that? Oh, yeah, that's true.
Marino Solorio, I'm the city planner here and economic development director, and this ordinance relates to projects that I work on for the park improvements. So I can speak on behalf of, for this ordinance.
Councilman Garcia.
Point of order, motion on the floor. It's a motion on the floor, but also I need to ask Barr a question. Since none of the information was brought into the public hearing, is it right to just bring it back up? Because the public didn't have no information on this ordinance, so I don't think it's fair to the residents not to hear the information and then we're gonna try to pass it.
Attorney Steve Bauer for the council. Normally, there is an explanation given at the time, at least a brief explanation of the purpose of the additional appropriation, especially if it's at the public meeting. That's been a reoccurring problem here with these types of things that require the public hearing. That's something that kind of needs to be addressed internally, because we schedule the public hearings on these items right at the beginning of the agenda, and many times it precedes the information from the department or whomever is sponsoring that. So that's an option that the council's got. You can table the whole thing if you want and redo it, or proceed.
Councilman Garcia.
Yeah, this is the first time nobody has shown up for a public hearing. But point of order is that the motion was made, he cannot present that, his information on that ordinance.
Okay, there was a motion on the floor by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Medina, to table ordinance 17-0009. Any questions?
I have a question for Attorney Bauer.
Can we proceed with hearing the ordinance without a public hearing, or we must have a public hearing? That's my question.
Well, in a sense, you've had a public hearing.
Oh.
And no one appeared to speak on it, so you literally can, or perhaps legally, can go ahead and consider the matter if you want.
I know there's a motion. Okay, thank you.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes, Attorney Barrow, how is it legal when the information was not given to the residents of the ordinance so they could vote yea or nay for it?
This has happened, quite frankly, a number of times.
Well, this is the first time nobody has shown up,
No,
not
that's
shown
true.
up for public
No,
hearing.
that's,
Since I've been here.
No.
I've been here. This is the first time nobody has shown up. I think it's wrong for us to vote on this, and the information was not given to the public.
There is a motion on the floor right now. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Maldonado, I'm sorry.
What-
Walker,
No.
Vasquez,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
No.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francisci.
No.
So if it fails, can we still hear it? We can't talk. No.
may it please the council, what that does, there's a failure to have the motion passed. So now you're in the position of entertaining a motion to approve ordinance 17-0009, or once again, to table it.
Councilman Medina?
I was just going to reflect on that as well. The motion that was on the table was to remove it from the agenda. It's still on the agenda, and if we want to proceed, Mr. President, that's, your calling.
Was it a motion to take it off the agenda or just to
To
table?
remove from the agenda was the
Was that-
motion that failed. So we're back to square one, Mr. President.
Well, it's on the agenda.
You want to call him up?
Marino?
Marino, you're up.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Make the
I
motion.
believe Robert's rules indicates that this is up for first reading. Not I or any of my colleagues have moved to hear it on first reading.
I'll make a motion to hear it on first reading.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Walker, to hear ordinance 17-0009 on first reading. Any questions on the motion?
Good afternoon again. Marino Solorio, City Planner, Economic Development Director.
Excuse me, Councilwoman Vasquez?
Did we vote? We didn't vote on it, though. We just asked to hear it
Oh,
on
I'm-
first reading.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
We need to vote on it.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia.
No.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
No.
Monroe,
No.
Francisci.
Yes.
Still fails.
Still fails.
Sit down.
Motion fails.
It was gonna fail anyway.
Madam Clerk, next ordinance, please.
Ordinance 170010 sponsors Councilwoman Christine Vasquez and Councilman Robert Garcia, welcoming city ordinance.
So move, Mr. President, on first and second reading. Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Vasquez, seconded by Councilman Garcia, to hear ordinance 17-0010 on second reading. Have any discussion on the motion? Councilwoman Vasquez?
Mr. President, this welcoming ordinance is an ordinance protecting all immigrants in the city of East Chicago. But at this time, I'd like to ask Attorney Alfredo Estrada to come forward and kind of give us a brief summary of what the ordinance entails.
Good afternoon, Council. I appreciate being heard on the ordinance. My name is Alfredo Estrada, and I'm an attorney at Burke Costanza and Carberry. My practice involves municipal law and immigration law, so this ordinance kind of merges what I do for a living. For your benefit, I printed out some bullet points on the ordinance to take with you to review.
You want to give them to our clerk, and she'll pass them out. Thank you so much.
One for Council. So the Welcome City Ordinance it's been a nationwide movement here in a response to the new administration's rhetoric and stigma against immigrants, either undocumented or documented. And it's an acknowledgement by the city of East Chicago that if it's past and present commitment to immigrants, the benefits immigrants bring to this city. And it's also an acknowledgement of the 4th and 10th Amendments. The 10th Amendment being illegal to commandeer local resources to effectuate federal law. So it acknowledges that immigration law is a federal responsibility, and that the city of East Chicago has limited resources and shouldn't be putting resources such as police time into federal enforcement, immigration enforcement. So what it does briefly, it prohibits the city from conditioning any municipal benefits based upon legal status or immigration status. It prohibits a city agent from coercing and threatening an immigrant in any way based upon legal status. It recognizes the immigration enforcement is a federal law and the 10th Amendment. And it requires the city to designate an official within the city police department to review and analyze U visa and T visa certifications. For those who aren't familiar, U visas is a pathway to legal status for those who help prosecute or bring a criminal, apprehend a criminal. And a T visa is a certification by the department for those who have been trafficked either for sex or labor. So what it does, that one provision allows the chief of police to designate a person to review those certifications and to sets out a deadline for when response should be given to the applicant. It prohibits the city from participating in any program that registers people based upon race, religion, or ethnicity. And it requires the city to review its policies, questionnaires, applications to determine if legal status is required for that municipal benefit. And that's in direct relation to USC 1373 and the corresponding Indiana code that requires the city to cooperate and communicate all information to the federal government. So we're starting to step ahead. We're saying look to see at the policies and the questionnaires to see if the legal status is needed. If it's not needed, don't ask it. If we don't have it, we can't communicate it. And we're still in compliance with federal and state law. One thing I want to point out is that Welcome City Ordinance is not a sanctuary city. When asked, Attorney Sessions couldn't define what a sanctuary city is. So any rhetoric about withholding of federal funds because this will make you a sanctuary city is absolutely untrue and incorrect. If you guys have any questions, my contact information's on the sheets, and I'm willing to answer any now if needed.
Councilwoman Orange.
Hi, thanks for coming to explain it. If a person gets themselves into this situation and just say, for instance, we have not communicated this good enough to the police department, and a person does get apprehended, what are their recourses? What can they possibly do if they are in there? I know they have their phone call and everything like that, but who should they be calling?
Well, it all depends on the situation. The hypothetical is a bit incomplete, so.
Okay, they picked them up because they said they were illegal in some way, and they didn't have any way of proving that they were, and they get locked up in our police department. And the person asked them all kind of questions they should not. Are you legal, this and that? So who should they call?
Well, I would hope they would call an attorney, but are you saying the city,
Most people can't afford
the city police are apprehending people based upon legal status?
Right.
Well, this ordinance would be a passing of an ordinance that would make that act, the city police apprehending a person solely on a civil issue such as documents, immigration status. That wouldn't happen if you adopt this ordinance.
So how will you get that out to people that may not know that we have passed this, or if we pass this welcoming?
Well, I've been working closely with Jose Bustos, who's here in the audience. He's a director of the Isaac Immigration Clinic here in East Chicago, and you'd be surprised how word of mouth spreads within the community.
Because I think that's part of the problem on a lot
Sure.
of things that people don't know, and if they do get in a situation, they don't know what to do, and they're already scared, so I'm just asking that.
There's a Section 9 of the ordinance requires the police department to make available and provide material at all police stations concerning the ordinance and information concerning rights of immigrants. So that'd be one way to get information out to the people.
So this would just cover East Chicago, it doesn't cover the county or anything, right?
No, unfortunately, I got to go town by town and city by city to get this adopted.
Do you think that if we pass this tonight, with us passing it, possibly us, doing an endorsement letter to the other cities to let them know, would that be helpful?
That'd be great. I'm in front of, Gary's passed it. Lake Station's passed it on first and second reading, and I'm in front of towns of Valpo, speaking with Hammond and Highland. And they're looking for leadership from other communities to kind of go in it together, so that would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Garcia.
I want to thank Gilda because she took up all my questions. But just want to reiterate some of the things that you said already. So this is in step with federal and state law. We're not violating no federal laws. And also, you said you named quite a few cities. How many cities passed this already?
Gary's passed it full on. Lake Station is hearing it on its third and final reading within the next coming week. And I'm in contact with Highland, Hammond, Valpo, Michigan City, across the board. Wherever people, community activist people are concerned or inviting me in to talk to their council, I'm there just to give a brief presentation, but it's really the city residents that want this.
What's been the pushback, if you've heard any?
Well, everybody's afraid of federal funding being revoked, and that's the threat coming from the administration. But the council should feel safe in passing it and securing that federal fundings won't be withheld, because federal funds can't be withheld if it's not tied to the benefit. So and we've seen it with Obamacare. There was a bit of coercion, either pass Obamacare or withhold Social Security benefits was the threat. The Supreme Court held that to be unconstitutional and not able to do that. So unless there's a specific tie from immigration enforcement to the federal funds that the city receives, there's no threat. I don't know how much funds the city of East Chicago is getting from the federal government for federal immigration enforcement, but that's the only thing in my mind that'd be at risk. That's 1373, which requires communication and cooperation by the cities. And my stance is, if you have someone who has a criminal record and DHS or DOJ is asking for them, and you know you have that information, this ordinance does not require you not, or the police department not to communicate that information. What it does is, it has you look internally into the city to see how you're operating, and to make sure that you're protecting your residents with specific needs and requirements because of their legal status. It's not looking to build barriers between the town and or the city and federal government at all.
My last question is, if this passes today, are you willing to give our law department and the PD some training or to make sure interpretation is right?
Sure, I think I'll make myself available. I think the biggest benefit is the UNT visa certifications, and I've dealt with the city of East Chicago on some certifications. So I think that designee will need some training if they designate someone, and I'll be happy to communicate with the law department on anything they need.
Thank you.
All right.
Councilwoman Vasquez.
Of course, Attorney Estrada, if we had some type of immigration comprehensive plan in place, we wouldn't be sitting here today trying to pass this ordinance. And I'm 100% in support of the ordinance, that's why I sponsored it. But I do believe, I did invite the chief of police here this evening, but due to an unforeseen circumstance, he wasn't able to be here. But I would just like to sit with him, like other cities have done.
Sure.
And just educate ourselves and let him educate us on how this is all going to be this information is going to be, worked out with the police department so that we can be better educators when we go out into the community or to our churches, so that we're able to explain and let the people know exactly what's going on. So that's my comment on
I
that.
appreciate that. I'll be happy to sit, if the public's allowed at the committee meetings, I'd be happy to sit in on that. I think one of the biggest, and it goes to Councilman Garcia's question, is the police chiefs have been saying, well, we don't do this anyway. We don't ask, we don't do that. Well, if you don't do it, it's your custom and practice not to do it. Why not put it in writing if you agree with what's behind it? So I'd be happy to make myself available for the committee meeting as well.
Any other questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call to adopt ordinance 17-0010 on second reading.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Councilman Garcia.
Motion to suspend the rules and pass it on third and final reading.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Monroe, to hear ordinance 17-0010 on third reading. To suspend the rules and hear ordinance 17-0010 on third reading. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
No.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Failed.
Sponsored.
You already failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, she sponsored it to suspend the rules.
Ordinance 17-0010 failed. Councilwoman, to speak,
To suspend the
Yeah.
rules.
to suspend the rules on ordinance 17-0010. It's too hot in here, man. It's too hot in here. Councilwoman Orange?
Councilwoman Vasquez, well, when will you have the meeting with the police chief and the law department? And I think you should include the judge also.
Yes.
When are you going to have this meeting?
I'm not the chairman of,
It would go under the public safety, which Rich Medina is Councilman Medina is the chairperson.
Probably in 2018.
I don't think so.
No, I will move on this as quickly as we can, and of course, before the next council meeting. And I agree that we shouldn't rush into it. We do need the support from the clerk. The judge is here today. We need support from the police department. So we need to educate them instead of just trying to shove this down, their throat. So that we're all equally informed and know exactly what this is going to help us with. So I will expedite that meeting as soon as I can get the parties together.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, next ordinance, please.
Ordinance 170011, sponsor Councilman Lenny Franciski, an ordinance establishing an infraction deferral fund for the East Chicago City Court.
So moved on first reading.
Good evening, President Francis.
Excuse me.
Sure, I'm sorry.
It's the heat.
A motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilman Garcia, to hear ordinance 17-0011 on first reading. Any discussion on the motion? Councilman Garcia?
I think the judge's office is here to talk about it now.
We're going to go for roll call.
Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Maldonado. I'm sorry. Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Let's see, call roll call.
Thank you, Mr. Franciski. Members of the council, good evening. My name is John Schmall, and I represent, as the legal advisor, Judge Morris. In the past, there has been some discussion about the deferral fund that the judge has for various deferrals. We've now met with the prosecuting attorney, Mr. Carter, and the court is now part of Mr. Carter's deferral program. So this has been a subject that has been a matter that we've discussed before, and we want to bring the deferral program into compliance with what the State Board of Accounts wants, and Mr. Carter's program has met everything that the State Board of Accounts wants. So this is just formalizing the agreement that we have with Mr. Carter.
Councilwoman Orange?
So when you refer them, what does the referral consist of?
The deferral, there are various fees on a deferral program, and what the court had done before, in accordance with my advice, was that this is the way I thought the money should be handled. There's been a disagreement with the State Board of Accounts, and we've all agreed that the court should come in compliance with what the State Board of Accounts wants, and that's what this ordinance does.
Councilman Garcia?
Yes, this is infraction deferral fund. So what type of charges will be deferred?
Whatever the judge wants to defer, whatever she has the authority to defer, then it would come under this program. And the deferral has to be with the consent of the prosecuting attorney. So it's not just something that the judge herself would want to do. The prosecuting attorney has to be in agreement with a deferral.
And you said this fund established by the State Board of Accounts?
This has been approved by the State Board of Accounts, yes. It's being used by other municipalities within Lake County.
And all the monies that go into this fund, it has to come back to this council for appropriation to be used?
That's correct, it does. All the money that would come back in is going to be subject to appropriation by the council.
Councilwoman Orange?
Does the money roll over, or you have to have it used up by year's end?
I think it just rolls over, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. It stays in the fund. You don't spend it, it stays in the fund.
Any other questions? I believe we did vote on this one already. Madam Clerk, next ordinance, please.
Ordinance 170012, sponsor Councilman Lenny Francisci, an ordinance establishing a supplemental court interpreter fund for the East Chicago City Court.
So moved on first reading.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez, to hear ordinance 17-0012 on first reading. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Garcia?
Explain this one too.
This one, I'd like to withdraw. We had a meeting, the judge and I had a meeting with Mr. Garcia, or Mr. Gomez, and Kim on Friday, and the money is already in the city treasury and has been appropriated already. The grant money was received some time ago, and Kim has already put it in with other state grant money, and it has been appropriated already. So at the time I sent this ordinance over for everybody, I was unaware of the fact that the Controller's Office had already set up a fund for a state grant and had appropriated the money from that grant.
Attorney Bauer, please. On this ordinance here, there's already a motion to hear it on first reading, so
What this motion does is to create a separate fund for the grant that the courts received to create up the,
Councilman Garcia.
He wants to withdraw it, and that's his question, so we,
And that's reasonable because the controller's office has indicated they've already got a fund created that they can put the money into and has already done it. So quite frankly, this is moot.
I withdraw my motion. But I do have a question.
Councilwoman Orange,
Sir,
Attorney Small.
how were you guys paying the interpreter before? Didn't you have a court interpreter?
We had a
On
court
staff.
interpreter previously. The Indiana Supreme Court has freed up money to ensure that all the interpreters for the various courts meet certain qualifications, and the purpose of this grant was to send somebody down to Indianapolis, the court interpreter down to Indianapolis, to do the studying for the grant and take the preparation course, and then to take the certification course.
So this will be ongoing? Ongoing?
Once you get certified, then
I'll have to
that's,
do it again.
yes.
Okay.
So, as Mr. Bauer said, and I've said, the 170013, that money's already been appropriated towards, or appropriated by the Controller's Office.
Councilman Garcia.
Do you still need 13 passed then, or you want to withdraw that one too?
I will withdraw that one also.
Councilman Garcia.
I'd like to make the motion to withdraw ordinance 17-0013.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Garcia, seconded by Councilman Medina to withdraw ordinance 17-0013. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Madam Clerk, next ordinance, please.
14.
14.
Make a motion for 12.
Oh, to withdraw, I'm sorry. I thought we did.
We withdrew the motion. We withdrew the
Yeah,
motion.
We're on 14.
Yeah, Councilwoman withdrew it and Councilman Garcia seconded it. We're on ordinance 17-0014.
Ordinance 170014, sponsor Councilman Lenny Franciski, an ordinance for the East Chicago City Court to adopt statewide case management system called Odyssey.
So moved on first reading, Mr. President?
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Vasquez, seconded by Councilman Garcia to hear ordinance 17-0014 on first reading. Any discussion on the motion? Attorney Small?
Thank you. The Indiana Supreme Court is moving for a uniform system of court records called Odyssey, which will provide access to the records by all citizens. The present system is called CourtView, which is something that is unique to Lake County as I understand it. The present system costs the city approximately $2,600 per month in licensing fees. Under the Odyssey program, there will be no licensing fees. The Indiana Supreme Court will bear all the costs with any licensing fees. The only fees that the city will incur will be the cost of any computers that are necessary to run the system, and I think the judge has fairly new computers. I'm not certain about the clerk. My understanding is that they might be an older system. The Indiana Supreme Court has sent people up to meet with both Judge Morris and her staff and the city clerk and his staff about the implementation of the system. And the system will automatically generate all reports required by the court for the state and for the county, and will make all necessary payments to the state, the county, and the city. So it'll be quite a bit of time-saving, effort-saving on behalf of the people in the clerk's office.
Councilman Garcia.
So Odyssey is only one system that the state use?
That's the one that the Indiana Supreme Court wants to implement.
Okay. And you said it's not going to cost us much? It's not going to cost us anything, you said?
Mr. Bauer and I had a conversation this morning about what this is going to cost. After that conversation, I sent a letter down to the lady at the Indiana Court Administrative Office and asked her, this is quoting my email to her, the East Chicago City Council is concerned about future costs after Odyssey is implemented. Judge Morris believes there are no future ongoing costs. Is this correct? And she writes back, there will be no future costs for licensing. Court should still plan for computer replacement in the future and internet services. So that's all it will be.
Okay, so this is a software company that the state's going with,
That's correct.
and the state's picking up the tab for it. How about future updates? Because I know.
I think that's all included in what the state will pay, yes.
How about the training? Because I know.
The training, the people have come up here for the training, and they're scheduled to come back after the agreement is entered into.
And that's going to be free training also.
Yes.
Councilwoman Orange.
I'd like to get a copy of the email because people forget, and if you could give Alita so we could get a copy of that. So just in case, we don't know the day of the hour things will happen, and you won't remember, I won't remember, and then we wind up with a bunch of charges from Odyssey that nobody has agreed to.
Right.
And so, if that's possible.
I have handwritten on them.
Oh, that's okay.
I can provide Mr. Bauer a clean
be
copy
fine.
or provide him my marked up copy, whichever.
Whichever one, as long as we have a copy so that if they start charging, we would know who to go back to.
Sure. That's a fair request, and I'd be glad to comply with it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call to adopt Ordinance 17-0014 on first reading.
That's what I was going to ask, though.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Attorney?
What's the difference between this ordinance and that?
We do need to point out, you've got an ordinance that you have just passed on first reading. You've also, on your agenda, have got a resolution that does the same thing. And I'm not real sure that you needed an ordinance level to approve what the court's doing, especially in light of the fact that there is no immediate cash outlay going to be required by an additional appropriation from the council in order to implement this. So it's kind of an option you've got. You can go with the ordinance or simply with the resolution.
Councilwoman Orange?
I would think that we would go with the ordinance, but is the state requiring an ordinance versus a resolution?
When I first received the information from the state, the judicial office in Indianapolis, I received the ordinance. When I called down and talked to Mrs. Dupre, whose name will be on the email, she sent me up the resolution that was passed by Hobart and the agreement that was entered into by Hobart. So I wasn't certain which way the council would want to go on this, so I presented it to you in both forms. The ordinance was the one that was sent to me first. And the letter that's attached to the ordinance or to the resolution is the exact letter that I received from the judicial office in Indianapolis.
Attorney Bauer? I believe you said it didn't matter whether we're going to go with the resolution or ordinance. I think since we already started with the ordinance and heard it on first reading, we can continue that route and maybe take the resolution off the agenda.
Yes, I see no legal reason why you need just to do the resolution or only do the ordinance. It's just they both were on there, and that was something I was concerned about.
Councilman Medina?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion, we suspend the rules on ordinance 17-0014 and hear it on second and final reading.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Medina, seconded by Councilwoman Orange, to suspend the rules and hear ordinance 17-0014 on second reading.
Second and final, Mr. President.
I'm sorry, second and final. Councilman? Yes, we did. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Councilman Medina?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt second and final ordinance 17-0014.
Second. Mr. President, second.
Motion was made by Councilman Medina, seconded by Councilman Garcia, to adopt ordinance 17-0014 on second and final reading. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Madam Clerk, do we have any ordinances on second reading?
No.
Can you please put your phone on vibrate, please? Thank you. Any ordinances on third reading?
Yes. Ordinance 17-0008, sponsor Mayor Anthony Copeland. An ordinance of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago authorizing the transfer of appropriation within and between various city departments.
So moved on third and final reading.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilman Garcia, to hear ordinance 17-0008 on third reading. Have any discussion on the motion? Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, I want to thank Council President Lenny Franciski and also the city engineer for getting me this information. Due to illness, I was not at that last meeting, but they made sure they gave me this information. The only question I got on here is probably, it has construction, a community center in the 6th district. My colleagues asking questions on that.
I tried to ask every question I thought you was gonna come up with.
And,
But I think that if you sit down with either Marino or and the city engineer, they can tell you more about that.
Any other question? Madam Clerk, roll call to adopt ordinance 17-0008 on third and final reading.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Franciski.
Yes. Do we have any resolutions?
Yes, Resolution 17-0001, sponsor Mayor Anthony Copeland. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of East Chicago authorizing a temporary transfer to a depleted fund to facilitate demolitions funded by the state hardest hit program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilwoman Orange, seconded by Councilwoman Vasquez. Do you have any discussion on the motion? Councilman Garcia?
If anybody's here to speak on it? It's not.
Good afternoon again, Marino Solorio, Planning and Economic Development Director for the City of East Chicago. Every 6 months, we come back to this council to approve this temporary loan that we pay back every 6 months. All it is to facilitate to pay the contractors, because sometimes they can't wait for the money to come in from the state. And we did receive a new grant for hardest hit again this year for $912,000 outside of the 1.4 we were approved in 2014. So it is a good program. It is helping stabilize communities and remove the blight. And so we ask that the council approve this resolution so that we can facilitate again the contractors' job and payment while we get reimbursed by the state.
Councilman Garcia?
When did they approve that grant?
The first one was in 2014. The second one was approved this year. We got the formal approval this year.
You don't know when this year?
It came out on the newspaper probably February, I think.
February, all right. Just next time, you could provide that in here also, because that'll give us another thing that we see that is, you did get the grant, and that you still need that fund, so it makes it easier for me anyway, so.
Councilwoman Vasquez?
I know that we borrow the money to pay our contractors. How long does it take for the state to pay us our money?
It just depends. I mean, so sometimes it could be, again, we don't control their staff, so it could be as quick as 2 weeks, for example, and sometimes it could be as late as maybe 45 days. And so, some contractors are local contractors, and so capital-wise, I mean, they might not have, we just don't want to, we figured if we're going to get reimbursed, and we haven't had a problem with being reimbursed by the state, that we, facilitate the payment of that so that they can keep going until we get reimbursed. So, and it is allowable by the grant, and we've been doing it since 2014.
Thank you.
Councilman Garcia?
Go ahead.
Marino, yeah, I know it's probably a little bit more complicated instead of getting paid, reimbursed from the state. I'm pretty sure they ask for a lot of information. What type of information do they ask before they pay a certain contractor? So I know they just ain't writing checks whoever contractor you send in. So what's the process that the state has for you to get reimbursed, or the companies to get reimbursed?
Well, in terms of companies, they have no jurisdiction under that grant to tell us who we can and can't use, but we can, to be reimbursed, we obviously have to follow all procurement laws, which we do, and then now they're letting us, before they wouldn't let us invoice separately. So, for example, an example is in November, they demolished the building, or December, let's just say, and the ground is frozen where they can't get rid of like the foundation and they can't seed topsoil and put grass. And so we would have to wait until they would do it until the spring to formally say that the demolition was over for them for us to be able to submit then for payment. And so now they let us submit just 2 greening forms that state, okay, this is how much they've accomplished, this is what we're asking for, and then the greening portion of it, which is the final stage, we could ask for it later. And so those were kind of the first hiccups that we had, and then we kind of just said, okay, well, if we know after that, if there's only conditions that they have, but we have to submit a lot of paperwork. There's mortgages, because the redevelopment department has to be the owner of the properties. And so if we're not owners, or the program partner, which is the redevelopment authority, is not the owner, then we can't even demo the building, or it wouldn't even qualify. And then secondly, then we would have to do a EPA waste stream survey, so they assess the building to see if there's anything that could be taken to a landfill that takes care of lead and, all the hazardous type of stuff. So all those things need to be done and prepped before it even gets demoed. And then we have to show all that physical proof that that's been done. So it's a little bit cumbersome and tedious. I've been handling the project since the onset, but I am looking I'm the Planning and Economic Development Director, so I wear a lot of hats in the city, not literally, but maybe literally too. And so it is very tedious, and so there may not be time, if we get the invoice on the 2nd of this month, we may not be able to put it in the system itself after processing and all that until probably, let's say, mid-month or more. And then by the time they pay, it's easier to facilitate it because we can get a PO that we already have even prior to the demo that they could then just say, okay, here, we demoed, we pay them up front through the PO that the money's already been encumbered, and then we'll wait on that. So that's a long response, but.
Oh, no, thank you. That was very educational.
Councilwoman Orange.
Steve Dalton. Thank you. Okay, Steve, break it down.
Most state grants function as reimbursements. The state doesn't write you a check and then just let you blow through the money on a project like this. So you pay the bill. You either pay the bill with money you have on hand, or in this case, you're loaning yourself some money from the gaming fund so that you can pay the bills and then get reimbursed by the state, so that you have the proper documentation. A question I would have, Marino, would be: Have we ever been turned down on a reimbursement? Is that all right if I ask a question?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Have we ever been turned down on a reimbursement?
That's right. You can't.
There has been, when we first started the process, there has been times that we were turned down. That I think had a little more to do with education on our side of how to submit the request. There was a demo, for example, that was done without their permission, but it collapsed. And so that's where the unsafe building code kind of falls into play, and we just had to demolish it. So we forgone the money to do it that way, but they let you put in another building in its place. If you speak to them ahead of time, for example, that another case like that happened, we let them know and they let us still demo it through the system. So it just really depends on what happens, but typically everything that we've submitted, we've been reimbursed.
The one that collapsed, was that the one on Broadway?
No, this was another one in a neighborhood on Catalpa, correct? So.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Orange,
Yes.
Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francisci.
Yes, resolution passes. Moving on to old business. Councilman Garcia.
Yes, in the past, Mr. President, I asked for meetings with the EPA and IDEM, and those meetings never materialized, so I'm trying to find out why we can't get a meeting going to talk about this lead project.
You want to answer? I believe it went to Chairman, Councilwoman Maldonado, because she's the Environment Public Health Chairman, so I'll make sure I contact her and see what she's got going as far as with those meetings.
And my last one here, I've been asking for a public safety meeting, referenced the perf with public safety, and I haven't heard nothing yet.
I will also contact the chairman for that one as well and find out what is going on. Councilman. Any other old business? Moving on to new business.
Mr. President?
Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get a meeting together on Executive Order 16-12. It's an executive order regarding sick days, banks for all city East Chicago employees. I know I've been hearing some complaints that the employees are forced to take 3 days at a time. They might need 1 day sick day or for a procedure or something like that, but they're forced to take 3 days at a time from their bank. So I'd like to try to get a committee meeting together so we could go over this, try to make a recommendation to the mayor.
I'll make sure on our next workshop, I'll make sure I put that on the agenda so we can discuss it.
My last thing, Mr. President, Ronald London was part of this council, and it's something that tragically happened that hit us all hard at the last minute, and nobody wishes that on nobody. I think it was because it's diabetic, correct? And everybody just needs to be careful with their health, and please, if something's wrong, check yourself out. Mr. President, if you can let us know when the services are, I appreciate it.
Yes, I will. Any other new business? Oh, I'm sorry. I believe we do have Judge Sonia Morris.
Memorandum of Understanding and Request for Participation in the Statewide Case Management System. Judge Sonia Morris.
Would be under department.
Pass the ordinance for the Odyssey management. The letter that I received from the court administrator down in Indianapolis is attached as the new business, and it sets forth exactly what the Supreme Court will do and what the city...
Excuse me, Attorney Schmal, didn't you just hit on this when you talked about it in the ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, then that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman?
just for a matter of record, since we have already adopted by ordinance the same verbiage that's in this resolution, I would like to make a motion for the record to withdraw this, take this off the agenda.
Second, Mr. President.
Motion was made by Councilman Medina, seconded by Councilman Garcia, to take off Resolution 17-0002 off the agenda. Any questions on the motion? Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker,
Yes.
Vasquez,
Yes.
Garcia,
Yes.
Horn. Yes. Medina,
Yes.
Monroe,
Yes.
Francisci.
Yes. Councilman Garcia?
Yeah, Mr. President, can we send a letter to the engineer's department so we get this AC rolling in this thing? It's pretty
Yes.
hot in here, and it's only June. And also, can you let them know these mics, all our covers are gone off from mics also?
Any other new business? Moving on to public expression. If you could please keep your comments to 3 minutes. First, we have Mr. Jose Bustos.
Good afternoon. I'm going to try to be short, and first of all, I would like to thank each and every one of you council persons. I like to think that I know who you are and what you're about, and it gave me great pleasure to hear you pass that motion, and of course, it's perfectly understandable that you wanted the chief of police to be up to date on what it is that's going to happen. But I just wanted to say that the one thing you can inform the chief of police about is just to listen to the statements or read the statements that the chief of police from two major metropolitan cities have made, which is New York City and Chicago. These are cities who were really at risk of losing federal dollars, according to the new national administration, and that has completely been debunked. We are here supporting you, supporting us, and trying to alleviate the anguish that many of our neighbors are going through, because they are at a loss. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going to happen. As Attorney Estrada, and I really appreciate his time and effort that he's put into this. As he had mentioned, I run the office for Immigrant Support and Assistance Center, which now encompasses all of Northwest Indiana under the Diocese of Gary, Catholic Charities. And I'm here to tell you that the fear is real on these persons who are here, undocumented, these persons who have been here for years, these persons who have kids in the school system where your kids probably go to, or your nephews or aunties or, nieces. The fear is real. And especially after, I'm sure that you're aware of what happened in Texas, SB 4. And that is exactly what that ordinance is trying to avoid. Because in Texas now, anybody, even if they did not commit a traffic infraction, any cop can go to anybody on the street and ask them for papers. For crying out loud, we're not in Nazi Germany, you know. There's no need for that to demean the dignity of these persons. So I just want you to please keep that in mind. And I know that you all are good people. And the reason why you voted to go ahead and approve this ordinance. And I thank you for that on behalf of all of those who couldn't be here. But we're praying that this would take place. The chief of police, I'm sure, is I have not had the opportunity to meet him, but I am sure that he'll understand, especially coming from you, who are part of the community. Many of you remember that incident that we had last year about this one person, Attorney Estrada mentioned U visas and T visas. Well, this U visa, there's one gentleman who cooperated with the police department.
15 seconds, sir.
Immigration came and got him before he was able to testify. This is the stuff that we're trying to avoid. His wife is now working 2 jobs, trying to keep the home, had to sell all the equipment for the business. So I thank you for passing this ordinance, and I urge you to do the same on the 3rd reading. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bustos. Next, we have Mrs. Wanda Gordills.
Good afternoon, President Franceschi and Council. For me, it's a very sad day, okay, because I am the League of Latin American Citizens, and I am the director for the state of Indiana, okay? If you need more information, you can always get on LULAC.org. We have professional lawyers, and we have professional speakers that can come into the city of East Chicago and speak with the chief of police and with you, the council, and with everyone that's interested in knowing exactly about this. I support welcoming city for East Chicago. And our children, the children go here in East Chicago. We intermingle with the families, the immigrant families here in East Chicago, you know, and we have a large population of immigrants here. They are tearing apart the families here in East Chicago and flying them out of Gary, okay, back home, you know, in case those who didn't know that. Okay, they have already flown 19,000 immigrants out of the city of Gary Airport. Okay, so please keep this in mind. Have a great and nice day.
Thank you, Mrs. Gordills. Next, we have Veronica Fedenik. Excuse me? This is your comment, not mine, ma'am. Do you want to read it or no? Okay. Have a motion to adjourn, please? Motion was made by Councilman Monroe, second by Councilman Garcia. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Walker?
Yes.
Vasquez?
Yes.
Garcia?
Yes.
Medina?
Yes.
Orange?
Yes.
Monroe?
Yes.
Franceschi?
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Good night.